And we are live. Hi, Olusanya, and welcome to Member Spotlight. So we can start this by introducing you on yourself. So uh, go ahead and share what you would like to share with us.
Okay, my name is Olusanya. I live in the United States in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm a graphic designer and poet. That's basically what I do to earn my living. Um, and I trying to remember exactly how I came into rope flow. Um, when I first got interested in rope flow, it was more about for me the meditative aspects. You know, the the idea of um, being able to achieve a flow state while moving, because I'm very familiar with flow, but more from the practice of mindfulness, and meditation. So
So
I
how did you used to achieve the flow state as you're talking now that rope flow kind of took that part? What was before?
so from my background and understanding of flow, flow is our natural state, right? So if when we allow ourselves to kind of like drop all the thoughts and feelings that are constantly keeping us from being able to experience our essential state of being, we call that flow.
Mhm.
That it's your natural state of being, and so meditation and certain techniques allow you to achieve
Yes.
state. So well, from my experience in the United States, most people always approach flow from an athletic performance perspective, because that is one of the best ways to get into the flow state. You
Mhm.
know, but it's not. But it's not necessarily the only way. And for me, I like to help people understand that it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter how you get into the flow. The idea is just to get there, because this is our natural way of functioning. And as we can see, when we achieve the flow states, that we function much better from that state than we do from our ordinary state of running around with our head full of thoughts and worrying about this and worrying about that. And these are the things that keep us from being able to like naturally just stay in that state. you know um, so and because the rope is allowing you to achieve that state while you're moving, I tell people it's like sitting on a meditation pillow for 20 minutes and achieving that state, and then getting up and walking around and doing everything you do still in that state. It's hard for when people achieve the flow state through sitting meditation, or more formal practices like that where they're not moving. It's difficult for them to move in that state. It's like they've gotten into the habit of only being able to achieve it when they're sitting down and they're breathing and chanting their mantras or meditation. But then as soon as they get up off the cushion, it's gone. You know,
Yeah,
and
I totally understand that because there's different kind of barrier to enter it, and from my perspective, I see like rope flow. It's kind of easy way to get into it. It's challenging enough, but also you even if you make mistake, you can keep continuing. So it kind of brings your kind of focus into action, but you also can be aware of what's happening all across your body and outside if you want to achieve. So it's a really easy way to get into it. And as well as I see it, like the flow, what I used to and still get it into, it's in working flow. So when you have like a task that is challenging enough, and it's but because if it would be too boring, you wouldn't achieve that flow. And if it's challenging enough and you wanna do it, and you kind of maybe doing something mistake or need to figure out things, like you're really over there and time passes so fast. So you're kind of in that present moment trying to achieve the best what you can from yourself. So with the rope flow, you can always putting some extra layers if you need more complexity, and that's why it keeps us in that state. And when once you get into that movement as you're talking, it's way easier to transition from the just putting rope on the side and just go and do your things in the same mindset where you've been just like a minute before.
Right. I think the challenge of it, or as you say, a difficult task. Um, it's the difficulty or the challenge that allows you to get the focus you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're easily distracted, and so even in meditation, when people first sit down in meditation, the usually the most difficult part they have is focus and concentration, because our mind is all over the place, right? And so in mindfulness, they always tell you when that happens to focus on your breathing, because your mind can go all over the place, but your body is always here. And so
Mm-hmm.
the moment you focus on your breathing, you bring your mind or your attention back to your body. And now they're in unison with each other. And so the rope is kind of like allowing you to do that, like in such a simple manner, because of because the movements are difficult, you have to focus. But they're but but so they're like this beautiful combination of difficult yet easy. So they're difficult enough to make you have to concentrate, but they're easy enough that you don't get discouraged, and you allow yourself to continue, despite the difficulty of the movement, and so you have that like mind body harmony that is so necessary if we want to really function at our peak capabilities. We have to have our mind and body in unison, you
Yeah,
know.
that's beautiful said. Beautifully said. So, what is also interesting, because you kind of have a lot of experience with that flow. So, I would like to know how your rope flow practice looks like. Do you have any sort of structure, or how do you plan it, or you just go and flow? If you can, please share how it looks like, your practice, your workouts, or whatever you call it. It also has some semantics, has some of meaning for each person. Is it, call it exercise, workout, practice, play? It also kind of has different intention in it. So can you
Yeah.
elaborate?
So I generally, so I have a Tabata timer, and I'll put in drills, so I'll do figure eights with both hands, individually, 45 seconds each hand. Then I'll switch to both hands and maybe do 45 seconds on each side with matadors. Then I'll follow that with cheetah's tail or dragon roll. So I have drills where I'm drilling the patterns, and
Hmm.
that's generally like how I start. I just drill the patterns.
So you
Uh,
start from the basics.
yeah, I drilled, the different basic patterns every day, because I really want them, I really want them to be just second nature. I don't want to have to think about them while I'm doing them. Like right now, I still spend way too much time thinking about the movements, where I just want to be able to get there and flow. And so after I do the drills, then I'll just flow, for as long as I feel like, and try to make it as fun as possible. So, to me, it's definitely exercise and a workout, but it's more like it's more like the exercise and workout you get when like you're a kid playing tag. You're having fun. The exercise and the workout is incidental to the fun, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, flowing is more about having fun with it, and I just happen to be getting exercise at the same time. you know.
Yeah, that was our main idea when we started that. But yeah, once we start getting the crazy feedback from people, from it varies from so many different angles. What benefits we are gaining. So it's also interesting what the main benefits you are getting instead of like exercise, but maybe more specific ones.
Well,
What do you
me,
gain?
for me, also part of rope was, so I was in a near fatal car accident in my mid 20s, and as a result of it, were uh, my hands were burned, and in the healing process, because of how burns heal, I ended up having like frozen, as you can see, like my fingers don't straighten out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And my wrist flexibility is like really, like my wrists are tight. So I was always looking for ways that I could exercise, because I love exercise and I like being in shape, you know. And so I was always looking for ways that I could exercise, that that uh, that I could do with the limited mobility in my hands and my wrist flexion. Like I can't do push-ups without bars because my wrists don't bend back like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so when I discovered the rope, and especially once I started doing it and realized that this was probably the ultimate for me, because one, it really forces me to use my wrists in ways where I can feel them slowly getting more flexible,
Mm-hmm.
like they're a lot more flexible than they were previous to me doing the rope. Um, and so it was like, the best way for me to actually get my physical fitness in the way I want to get it in, while getting past the limitations of my hands, and what resulted as a result of my injuries, and the way that they were constricting my body. You know, because I have scar tissue on my neck that doesn't really allow me to flex my neck necessarily the way a lot of people can, which then made me develop kind of like a tightness and a restriction in my shoulders. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so my injuries, although they were healed and didn't necessarily stop me from doing anything I wanted to do, they did affect my mobility in different ways. That honestly I didn't even realize how much till I started doing the rope, and the rope started kind of like counteracting it. And then from at that point I was hooked. There's like, there's no way I can put this rope down now. You know, it's like a key. You know, it's like a doorway. It's not just a doorway to my physical fitness, but it's a doorway to my mental fitness. You know, I think there's something very spiritual about rope flow. You know, I think there's one of the things I really enjoy now is being a member of the Octomoves community, because I think the Octomoves community in a way is almost like a spiritual community. You know, the people that are in it are so, they display a level of empathy and compassion and sharing towards each other that I generally don't see a lot in in my culture. And so I love that about the Octomoves community is you have all of these people who share certain values together, and they support each other in those values, and they encourage each other in them. And I find it extremely inspiring, encouraging. It's like, if I get up and I don't necessarily feel like this is a day where I really want to flow, I can just open up my app and start looking at people and reading the stuff, and it's like, get your rope, let's go. you know so to me, that's almost more of a benefit than some of the instruction. Because, to be quite honest, your videos are so instructional. you know Outside of hearing how people have adapted it to their own personal being, I don't really need a lot of instruction outside of the videos. you know because the videos are very clear. In fact, I've studied a lot of my first introduction was through David Weck, of course,
Hmm.
and although I love David Weck's personality, and I find his videos instructional as well, they're not, to me, they weren't as clear. So like for instance, I couldn't get the overhand sneak watching his videos. It was just something it wasn't connecting in me watching the video. But then uh, I watched your video, and you don't teach it much different than he does, but it was just so much clearer to me. You broke it down in a way where when I watched it, it clicked. And I understood where I was making my mistake. So I find the videos, and I look at other videos too. I can't remember the programming, the head of programming for the White Method, but he does videos too, and his videos are again excellent.
Yeah,
Um,
Christopher Chamberlain.
yes, yes, yes. I was actually looking at some of his videos last night. They're really excellent, and and they will, they emphasize different things. That's why I think it's important for individuals, even if you have your preferred way of doing it. I think it's important to be open to all the different ways of doing it, because you're going to get little tidbits of information and little insights from all the different people that are just going to enhance your approach,
Yes,
and
exactly.
right.
All of us have a different style of how we are moving. We have a different background, what we've been doing from all of us like grew up differently, and we played different sports, we did the different stuff, and our thought process and how we are moving are highly influenced for that past that we had it. As same as you mentioned, like your injuries are actually affecting how you're moving, but the basic principle of the figure eights actually helps you to get better at that. So it's all for us, and we see and there's different important parts in each the same movement for all of us, and some things clicks from one coach, some from other, which is really amazing thing. Like this year we started doing in the surf camp, where I do the rope flow as well, and we do like a 4 lesson like a beginner's program in the surfing, and we started mixing coaches. Like first day is one coach, on the second day is another, third day is the third coach, and and we asked like clients like how do you feel like the coaches are changing and all of that, and it was really really positive response because people responded that like same things can be explained differently, and for some people get something from one coach and other people getting from other coach the same thing, but we explain it in different words that resonated with them, because each of us is also having a different background, and we can use the different metaphors to explaining things.
Yeah. Yeah. So it took me, I mean, and again, the beauty about the community is, I'd be, flowing, and it would feel right. And I know the ropes going the way it's supposed to, but then I would watch other people in their videos and I would go, but wait a minute, like that, like how are they able to like keep the rope, so every now and then, I'll do the rope, but the rope won't have that like beautiful arc as it's going across, and I'm like, how are they keeping the rope like that? I don't get it. But then I would watch more videos, and I would notice stuff like, oh, it's the way they're moving their wrists, like they're not just swinging the rope, they're like turning it, so I started noticing little things that I wasn't seeing before. you know um
You train your eye to notice the small difference by
right.
watching others. That's
And
amazing.
I wouldn't see everybody doing it, but every now and then I would see a video where it would be so clear to me, you know which is why, again, I would suggest to people, like, look at everybody, look at everything, because they're all probably doing the same thing, but they're all not going to do it in a way where it's obvious to you, and so I was having a discussion last night with somebody about different ropes, and what I was telling, because they didn't know there were brands, and I was like, well, there are brands, but you can make your own rope. I was like, really what it's about is it's about finding a rope that speaks your language, because that's what's going on. You and your rope are having a conversation, and you need a rope that communicates well with you and that you can communicate well too. And so you just experiment with the different ropes. Like my very first rope was David Weck's first. He has two different ropes now, but the first one. But
Mm-hmm.
what I found with it, again, because of my hands, the skin on my hands is very sensitive, and so his rope is a little harder than yours. And so when I swing it, it rubs up against my hands and it causes abrasions on my skin. So although I love his rope and the way it moves, it's rough on my hands. And so I have both his ropes and I still use them. I just don't use them as often as my black swan, because for me, my black swan, it moves the way I want it to. It tends to tangle a little less than the wet rope, and it's much easier on my hands. And it's beautiful. You
Oh, thank you.
and
We are trying.
yeah, I'm an artist, so aesthetics are important to me.
Yeah,
you
for
know.
us is as well. We really appreciate the quality and quality things. That's why we have that attention to details and the hand finish, so that everything would be perfect, as much good as we can make it at this moment. So
Yeah, and I went and I brought a heavy rope, but the first heavy rope I brought, it had handles, which are a little bit difficult for me to move with my wrists the way the knots are. And also it was a very stiff rope, and then I was introduced to winding ropes, and I went and got one of their heavy ropes, and they have heavy ropes with handles, but they also have heavy ropes with the knots. And so I was able to get a heavier rope that again felt good in my hands. When I roll it, it doesn't cause abrasions on my skin. And so for me, it's really and again, this is what I find in the Octomoves community, the openness. you know um I find you I, I find, especially when I talk to people about flow. So I don't know if it's a international thing. I know it's very much a thing in America. When people find something they like, it becomes it. Like, this is it, as opposed to that. And I'm like, well, but that's nice too. Can it be this and that? Does it have to be this or that? Which is a tendency for people to do. So it's like, if I like Octomoves ropes, then that's it. And I'm like, well, I happen to adore Octomoves ropes, and it's my favorite rope. But the idea of limiting myself to it is scary, you know.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
have I have to be open, and I find that in the Octomoves community, the majority of the people, to me, again, the level of openness to me is it's inspiring, because I really don't, you know. I have a very closed circle, because I like, I think it's all about energy and movement. That's another reason why I like the rope flow, because everything in the universe moves, and everything in the universe moves a certain way. And if
yeah,
you can get in alignment with that, then I tell people that, like, now you're moving with the universe, right? And so everybody everybody that moves like that, y'all are not moving separately anymore. You're moving together with the
yes,
universe. This is what creates, and like I said in my little video, this is what creates harmony. This is how we create this world we're always talking about, but have a hard time bringing into existence, is when we learn how to really learn how to flow together. Move together in a way where we are demonstrating that we're not that separate. That we actually do have the ability to move together in a harmonious and healthy manner, for each other's benefit and for the benefit of this planet, this beautiful planet we live and
Well,
so rope,
that's a wise,
you know,
that's a wise words, Olusanya. That
yeah.
we
So
really
I mean,
are.
rope, rope, rope flow, but rope flow brought all this together for me. These were like ideas that I had that were like, you know, these are the ideas I have about, mindfulness and meditation. And these are the ideas I have about creating harmony in our world. And these are the ideas I have about health and exercise. And the rope just brought them all together.
It's a new lifestyle.
Yeah, it was like the tide it binds, everything together. And so, so for me, it's almost like I'm developing this new philosophy on what it means to be a successful human being based on what I'm learning from my rope flow I'm going to go back to the discussion on the community the other day and my fellow flowists and flomies.
Yeah. So, what piece of wisdom would you share with the community from yourself about the rope flow? Like some advice or a tip or whatever you would like to share the people to know.
Well, I would say just do it. Not to sound like Nike, but just do it. You you. So when I first looked at rope flow again, because of my physical limitations, when I first watched people flow, I had a lot of hesitation and doubts about whether or not I'd be able to do it. Because I've tried different things. I mean, I used to be a musician. I used to play the upright bass and electric bass, and I can't anymore because of the damage to my hands. And so that was another thing. Like, what I love music. I want to play music. I need to find an instrument I can play. So I had to constantly try these, different instruments. I have so many instruments in my house that some of them I can't play, but I had to try to see
Yeah.
if I could, and for me, that that's like the key. Even if you think you can't do it, even if it looks difficult, just do it and see what happens. And fortunately, rope flow was one of those things where once I tried it, it kind of like you said, became my teacher. So when I first started, was it difficult? It was extremely difficult, and I'd rope flow for like maybe 5 minutes, and my wrists would be like really sore, very
Mm.
painful. So, and so, but I stuck with it because when I tried it, I saw that I could do it. So now it's just a matter of getting better. So I would say first, just do it. Just do it, because doing it is going to lead uh, to more. It's like baby steps, right? So like I've been really flowing now for, I'd say, maybe 4 months. Um, for some reason, the underhand sneak is still defying me. I, I've gotten so close on many occasions, but for some reason there's still something that's not clicking. But
There's
uh,
a lot of risks in it.
yeah, I think that is what's holding me back. That and it's a little different timing
Yes.
from the overhand sneak. You know, so I'm going to get it because this is what I've learned. And it's a I call it. This is a term my father used to use. He used to say when he would see me like stop in certain things, he'd say, "Son, you need to develop stick-to-itiveness." And I'd be like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You have to." He's like, "You have to stick to it." He's like, "That's how you get it." He said, "You don't get it by trying and stopping. He said, if you try and you don't get it the first time, he's like, you have to stick to it. He's like, so, where's your stick to itiveness? And so for me, that becomes very much a part of my philosophy in everything. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Right. And when my daughter was growing up, I used to tell her, she used to say like, Daddy, I can't do it, and I would say, I said, yes, you can. She said, no, but I tried. I was like, a try is a failure, but failures don't mean you stop. Right. And she said, what do you mean? I go, try to pick up the paper. And she'd pick it up. I go, no, put it down. I say, try to pick it up. And she'd pick it up. I go, put it back down. And it took her a minute to get it. I was like, see, I said, try to pick it up, and you picked it up. I said, because you can try or you can do it. Right. And if you try and you don't succeed the first time, keep trying until you do it. Right. I said, so it's not whether or not you fail, it's whether or not you keep trying. Right.
That's amazing.
Eventually you'll get it. No, you anything you get the first time, that means you already knew how to do it. You're a natural, right? Most of us have to learn, and learning is a process of errors.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Olusanya, for sharing this. This is great story with a deep meaning and great advice in it. It was wonderful to talk with you. Time runs fast.
Yeah, it's great talking to you too, Rokas. And
yeah, thank you for sharing your experience and your insights in the rope flow. And
thank you.
may the flow be with you.
Yeah, and thank you for creating a beautiful community.
Cheers.
All right.